I want to talk about fear today. Not the kind you see in movies. Not the kind that makes you scream. I mean the fear that sits quietly in your chest. The fear that whispers at night. The fear that makes your hand shake when you reach for something important. I have felt this fear many times. People think that because I became president, I must have been fearless. That is not true. I was afraid often. I am still afraid sometimes. Fear does not leave you just because you achieve something. It just changes shape. When I was young, I was afraid of many things. I was afraid people would see that I did not belong. My father was from Kenya. My mother was from Kansas. I grew up in Hawaii and Indonesia. I did not look like most of the kids around me. I did not always feel like I fit in. I was afraid that if people really knew me, they would think I was not enough. That fear stayed with me for years. It followed me to college. It followed me when I started working. Even when I became a community organizer in Chicago, I felt it. I would walk into meetings and think, what if they realize I do not know what I am doing? What if I fail and everyone sees it? There was one moment I remember clearly. I was supposed to organize a meeting in a church basement. I had worked for weeks to get people to come. I made phone calls. I knocked on doors. I promised that this meeting would matter. But when the night came, I sat in my car outside the church for 10 minutes. I could not open the door. I was afraid. What if only 3 people showed up? What if I stood in front of them and had nothing good to say? What if they left thinking I wasted their time? I finally went inside. About 30 people came. That was more than I expected. But I was still afraid the whole time. My voice felt small. My hands were cold. I kept thinking, they can probably tell I am nervous. They probably think I am too young for this. But I kept talking. I kept listening to them. And somehow, the meeting worked. People shared their stories. We made a plan. When it ended, an older woman came up to me. She said, "Thank you for bringing us together." I did not feel brave. But I had done it anyway. Fear does not always look like panic. Sometimes it is very quiet. It is the feeling you get before you speak up in class. You know the answer. You want to raise your hand. But something holds you back. What if I am wrong? What if people laugh? What if the teacher thinks my question is stupid? So you stay silent. You let the moment pass. And then you feel a different kind of bad. You feel disappointed in yourself. I did that many times. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. I let fear make my decisions. And every time, I felt smaller. Not because anyone else made me feel that way. But because I knew I had let fear win. There is also the fear of disappointing people. This one is hard. When people believe in you, you do not want to let them down. When I decided to run for president, many people told me I should wait. They said I was too young. They said I did not have enough experience. They said I would lose and embarrass myself. Part of me agreed with them. Part of me thought, maybe they are right. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I am not ready. But there was another voice too. It was quieter. It said, what if you do not try? What if you let fear decide? What will you tell yourself in 10 years? I did not want to live with that regret. So I ran. And I was afraid the whole time. I was afraid during debates. I was afraid before big speeches. I was afraid I would say something wrong and ruin everything. During the campaign, there were nights when I could not sleep. I would lie awake thinking about all the ways I might fail. I thought about my daughters. I thought about Michelle. I thought about all the people who were working so hard to help me win. What if I let them down? What if all their effort was for nothing? That fear felt heavy. It felt like carrying a weight on my chest. But here is something I learned. Fear does not mean you should stop. Fear is just information. It tells you that something matters. If you did not care, you would not be afraid. When you feel fear before a test, it means you care about doing well. When you feel fear before a performance, it means you care about the audience. When you feel fear before a difficult conversation, it means the relationship matters to you. I was afraid before almost every big speech I gave. People always told me I was a good speaker. They said I seemed confident. But inside, I was nervous every time. Before my speech at the Democratic Convention in 2004, I was terrified. That speech changed my life. It made people across the country notice me. But before I walked on stage, my stomach hurt. My mouth was dry. I kept going over my words in my head. What if I forget something? What if I stumble? What if people are disappointed? I walked out there anyway. My legs felt weak, but I started speaking. And after the first minute, something changed. I stopped thinking about my fear. I started thinking about the words. I started thinking about the people listening. The fear did not disappear. It just became smaller than the message. That is what courage is. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing something even though you are afraid. It is taking a step forward when your body wants to step back. It is speaking when your voice shakes. It is trying when you might fail. Some people think courage has to be big. They think it means running into a burning building or standing up to a bully in front of everyone. But courage can be very small. It can be quiet. It can be sending an email you are nervous about. It can be saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. It can be asking for help when you feel ashamed. It can be getting out of bed on a day when sadness makes you want to stay under the covers. I have seen quiet courage many times. I saw it in people who came to my office asking for help. They were afraid they would lose their homes, afraid they could not pay for medicine, afraid their children would not have a good future. But they came anyway. They told their stories anyway. That took courage. I saw it in a young woman who came to one of our town halls. She stood up and her voice was shaking. She said she was undocumented. She said she was brought to this country as a child. She said she was afraid every day that she would be separated from her family. But she stood up anyway. She asked for help anyway. Everyone in that room saw her courage. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. But it was real. I think about fear and change a lot. People are often afraid of change. Even when things are not good, they are familiar. Change means stepping into the unknown. It means risking something. It means you might fail. When I was a senator, I had a safe career. I could have stayed in the Senate for many years. I could have avoided the risk of running for president. But something in me knew I would regret not trying. So I chose the uncertain path. I chose the path that scared me. And that choice changed everything. But it was not easy. During the campaign, there were moments I wanted to quit. There were moments I thought, this is too hard. I am too tired. Maybe I made a mistake. There was one night in particular. We had just lost a primary. The news was calling it a major defeat. I sat alone in a hotel room. I felt exhausted. I felt like maybe I had pushed too far. Maybe I had asked too much of my family. Maybe I should step back. But then I thought about why I started. I thought about the people I met who needed change. I thought about the future I wanted for my daughters. I thought about giving up, and something in me said no. Not yet. Not like this. So I kept going. Not because I was fearless. But because the fear of giving up felt worse than the fear of continuing. Fear also comes at night. I do not know if you have noticed this. But fear feels different when you are alone in the dark. During the day, you can distract yourself. You can stay busy. You can be around people. But at night, when it is quiet, fear gets louder. I remember nights in the White House when I could not sleep. I would think about decisions I had to make. Decisions that would affect thousands of people. Millions of people. What if I chose wrong? What if people got hurt because of my choice? What if I was not smart enough or strong enough to do this job well? Those thoughts felt crushing sometimes. I would walk around the White House at night. It is a strange place when it is empty and quiet. You can hear your own footsteps. You can feel the weight of history. I would think about all the presidents who walked these same halls. I would wonder if they felt afraid too. I think they did. I think everyone who has ever done something important has felt afraid. One thing that helped me was talking to people I trusted. I would call friends. I would talk to Michelle. I would admit that I was scared. And they would listen. They would not try to fix it. They would not tell me fear was stupid. They would just say, I understand. That is hard. You will figure it out. Sometimes that was enough. Fear makes you feel alone. It makes you think you are the only one who feels this way. But that is not true. Everyone feels fear. Your teacher feels fear. Your parents feel fear. The person you think is the most confident person in the world feels fear. We just do not always talk about it. I wish more people talked about it. I wish we were more honest about how scared we feel sometimes. Because when you hide your fear, it grows. When you pretend you are fine when you are not, the fear gets heavier. But when you say it out loud, when you tell someone, I am scared, something changes. The fear does not disappear. But it becomes more manageable. It becomes something you can carry. There is also the fear of being seen. Really seen. I think many people are afraid of this. We wear masks. We show people the version of ourselves we think they will like. We hide the parts we think are too weird or too broken or too much. We are afraid that if people see the real us, they will leave. They will reject us. They will think less of us. I felt that fear too. For a long time, I did not talk about feeling lost when I was younger. I did not talk about struggling with my identity. I did not talk about feeling like I did not have a clear place in the world. I thought people would see that as weakness. I thought they would think, if he was confused, how can we trust him to lead? But eventually, I realized something. The parts of me that I was most afraid to share were the parts that connected me to other people. When I finally wrote about feeling lost, when I talked about searching for belonging, people did not reject me. They said, me too. They said, I have felt that way. They said, thank you for saying it. Your fear often protects something that does not need protection. It protects you from judgment that might not even come. It protects you from failure that might teach you something valuable. It protects you from rejection that might lead you to people who truly understand you. I am not saying fear is bad. Fear has a purpose. If you are walking alone at night and you feel afraid, that fear is trying to keep you safe. If you are about to do something dangerous and you feel afraid, that fear is telling you to be careful. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is information. The question is, what do you do with that information? Sometimes the right choice is to listen to fear and step back. If something feels truly dangerous, maybe you should not do it. But most of the time, fear is not about real danger. It is about imagined danger. It is about what might happen. What could go wrong? What people might think? And most of those things never actually happen. Before I gave my inauguration speech, I was afraid. Millions of people were watching. The country was in crisis. The economy was collapsing. People were losing their jobs and their homes. And I had to stand up there and give them hope. I had to find the right words. I was afraid I would not be enough. But I also knew something. I knew that everyone standing there was also afraid. They were afraid for their futures. They were afraid for their families. They needed to hear that things could get better. So I could not let my fear stop me. I had to speak anyway. I had to try anyway. And when I spoke, I was honest. I did not pretend everything would be easy. I did not promise quick fixes. I said, this will be hard. We will have to work together. We will have to be strong. But we can do this. And people responded to that honesty. They did not need me to be fearless. They needed me to be real. That is something I want you to understand. You do not have to be fearless to be brave. You do not have to have all the answers to take a step forward. You do not have to feel confident to do something important. You just have to be willing to try. You just have to be willing to take one small step, even when your hands are shaking. I think about the first time I spoke in public about something that really mattered to me. I was nervous. I thought my voice would crack. I thought people would see how scared I was. But I spoke anyway, and my voice did shake. People probably did notice, but they also listened. They heard what I had to say. And afterward, someone came up to me and said, "That took courage." I did not feel courageous. But I had done it anyway. Every time you face your fear, you get a little stronger. Not because the fear goes away, but because you learn that you can survive it. You learn that feeling afraid and doing something anyway is possible. You learn that courage is not about feeling brave. Courage is about acting despite how you feel. I have made many decisions in my life that scared me. Choosing to become a community organizer instead of taking a corporate job scared me. Deciding to run for the state senate scared me. Running for president scared me. Every step felt uncertain. Every step felt risky. But every step also taught me something. It taught me that I was capable of more than I thought. It taught me that fear is not a stop sign. It is just a feeling. And feelings pass. That is important to remember. When you are in the middle of fear, it feels like it will last forever. It feels overwhelming. But feelings are temporary. They come and they go. If you can sit with the fear for a moment, if you can breathe through it, you will notice that it changes. It might not disappear, but it softens. It becomes something you can work with. I used to practice this before big moments. I would sit quietly. I would notice the fear in my body. I would feel my heart beating fast. I would feel the tightness in my chest. And instead of trying to make it go away, I would just acknowledge it. I would think, okay, I am afraid right now. That is okay. Fear is here. And then I would take a deep breath. And another. And slowly, the fear would become smaller. Not gone, just smaller. Small enough that I could move forward. You can do this too. When you feel afraid, do not fight it. Do not tell yourself you should not feel this way. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I am feeling afraid. That is okay. Everyone feels afraid sometimes. And then take one small step. Just one. You do not have to take 10 steps. You do not have to solve everything at once. Just take one step. Send the email. Raise your hand. Start the conversation. Make the call. One step. And then see what happens. Most of the time, the thing you were afraid of does not happen. Most of the time, people are kinder than you expected. Most of the time, you are stronger than you thought. But even if it is hard, even if it does not go perfectly, you will learn that you can handle it. You will learn that fear did not destroy you. You survived. And that makes the next step a little easier. I am not telling you to ignore fear. I am not telling you to be reckless. I am telling you that fear is part of being human. It is part of caring about things. It is part of trying to do something meaningful. And it does not have to stop you. Some of the best decisions I made were decisions that terrified me. Some of the most important moments of my life were moments when I was afraid. But I moved forward anyway. Not because I was special. Not because I had some secret strength. But because I decided that what I wanted was more important than what I feared. You have that same choice. Every day. In small moments and big moments. When you feel afraid, you can choose. You can let the fear decide. Or you can decide. You can take one small step. You can speak. You can try. You can reach out. You can begin. And maybe that is all courage really is. It is not the absence of fear. It is not loud or dramatic. It is just choosing to move forward, even when you are scared. It is just being honest about how you feel and doing it anyway. It is just one small step. And then another. And then another. Until one day, you look back and realize how far you have come. Not because you were fearless. But because you kept going.